One thing that I've noticed as a day trader is the days that I have a red day, the losing trades normally come from me breaking a rule. We have all of these rules in place for a reason of building a system for day trading to be consistently profitable. But the problem is the reason that we end up losing money is because we end up breaking the rules. Maybe just one simple rule. Today was a very good example of that. We're gonna break down this trade here. So I had a red day because I broke this one rule that should be pretty much like in cement, you know, like don't let this happen. All right, we're gonna talk about it right here in this video, so make sure you stay tuned. Yeah. What's going on, guys? Patrick here. Today we're breaking down some rules. You know, I'm always talking about strategies and things that I'm trying to look to do as a day trader. What can I do to be more consistently profitable? And I think this rule that I broke today, I don't know like if this was a rule that I always thought about, but I always knew that it was a rule, but I never really, like, I guess, I don't know, I just feel like I've never really had this issue. But recently, one of my strategies with trading futures is kind of buying these breakouts, buying these different setups, buying, you know, the bull flag breakout, the bear flag, things like that. We're buying these breakouts of these setups. So I need to have a rule in place that's very simple, like a very simple rule. And I'm going to show you guys this live trade right here. And after we see the trade, we're going to talk about what rule that I broke. And I'm pretty sure after watching this trade, you as well will be able to see what rule that I broke. See if we can push through this level. Kind of bull flagging right now, looking for a push over the 520s here. Get over the 304s on the Qs. Looking to add if we push above the highs here. Looking for a push up to the 540s now. Up to the 525s. Looking for a higher push up to the 530s, 540s. Taking some profit right there. 540s, here we go. Taking a little bit more profit at the 40s. Now we're looking for a push over the 60s next. Kind of a hard read today. Just not getting like getting these kind of choppy up and downs here. Look at that pullback from the 540s. Watching the 500s here. Have to hold. Get back above the 520s here. Having trouble right there at the 500s still. So 480 was my final stop here. That's right where the VWAP's at. On the Qs right now. And we're going to stop out there. What happened? I'm sure you guys already know the answer here, but what happened basically was I got in, we went up, you know, 20, 30 handles. I was up almost $100, $200, $300 on that trade. And instead of taking profit or instead of making sure that I was going to lock in profit, I let the trade come back to my entry and then basically go below my entry. I got stopped out mentally, just kind of like, I'm going to take a trade off now. So I end up getting stopped out and I end up losing money on a trade that at one point was up $200. And that's a big no-no, right? No, don't let that happen. The thing is, there's a reason that the market reversed from that level that I didn't take profit at. There's a reason, right? Like if we're pulling back and we're breaking through my area that I ended up buying, thinking that that was the area that we're going to break out. Like if we're going to move back through that level where I bought, well, there's probably a reason for that, right? Like the market's either reversing or the setup's just not working. People are getting denied. You know, we're hitting resistance. Whatever reason it is, there's probably a pretty good reason for that pullback. So I need to basically make a rule, right? We're going to make a rule from now on. If I enter a trade and let's say I'm up 10, 20 handles on the trade, I'm up $200 in profit, there is no way in hell I let that trade come back to my entry and then go below my entry and then get stopped out for a $200 loss. Like how would I ever, why would I ever let that happen? I think it's easy, you know, when you're in the moment, when you're in the trade, you're like, well, hey, if you guys haven't already hit that subscribe button, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below, what are you trading right now? If you want to learn more about the platform that I'm using for trading futures, you can check it out. There's a link down below, the IronBeam app. It's really nice. It's cloud-based. It works on your phone, your Mac, your PC, pretty much your tab, anything that has internet, it'll work on. So check them out, the IronBeam app, link down below. Let's get back into the rules, my friends. We have this overall trend. You know, my entry was my entry was up here. My entry was here at this breakout. We pulled all the way down to this level, and I'm thinking, like, I'm hoping and praying that we're going to hold that 12,500 level, and we ended up just dumping right through there. So Like at that point, like I should have been like, okay, listen, Patrick, like this thing pulled back to my entry and now we're breaking below my entry. So there's something very bad going on here. There's a reason, we're going to probably break this trend. I need to get out. So I pretty much, look for that breakout to the upside. We were looking for the push above 540. We did not get that push. So that should tell me like, hey, there's something going on, right? Like I need to get out of the trade. I need to get stopped out at least, maybe for a little bit of profit or at least break even at this point. But there is no reason at any time during this trade that I should have let this thing go up $200 in the green and then come back to my entry and stop me out for a $200 loss. Like that never should have happened. Watching it happen in real time, you're like, is this really happening right now? Like I think that's kind of what happened. Like I was literally sitting there like, oh, cool, I'm up $200. I'm all, I'm excited. Not that I should be excited, but I'm happy, right? Like the market's moving. I've got this set up. We got it going on. And then all of a sudden we get that pullback and I'm like, well, it's funny too, because I ended up getting out on some of the trades earlier in the morning as well because they kind of like weren't breaking out. They weren't making the move that I was looking for. So it's interesting because I was at that point like, oh man, like, I should probably get out here. Like this is not working, right? Like, I should get out. Like that's what's funny and what's interesting is I was able to get out for small profits on the trades earlier, but after like basically like I think 3 or 4 times of me getting out for a small profit in the market then going higher afterwards on this 4 trade, I was like, screw it. I'm not going to get out until this thing goes to the moon. Like I'm not getting out, right? Like I'm not going to do it. And that's exactly the issue here. The issue was I basically went from taking small profits or just getting out for, locking in profit to now basically being emotional about the trade. Like we didn't push through the 540 level at that point. And I'm like, well, I'm not getting out. Like I'm emotionally attached to the idea that this is going to go higher and where, I should have, like I said, at minimum, if the market moves 20 handles higher than my entry, there is no reason that I should ever let that trade come back and then stop me out for a loss. And if you look here at the Qs, we pushed up, we got stuck there, we pulled back. So at this point, I'm like, okay, where's my next setup? What should I be doing? This is the 15-minute chart. I'm looking at this like there is no reason for me to enter here. There's no reason for me to enter here. Really, we get this push above the VWAP. I should be waiting for kind of a pullback to the VWAP, and then I look for a push off of the VWAP, and then I'm entering. Like we talk about this all the time. Like Patrick, like it's a simple idea, right? Like this candle right here pulls back to the VWAP, and then we push. We go to the 3-minute chart. You can see that pullback. That was very important. That's what we need. This is a strategy like I talk about all the time, guys. We push up above the VWAP here. Where do we want to enter? We want to enter when we pull back to the VWAP, and then we break above that previous 3-minute candle. And look at this move. So we push up here. I mean, we never even pulled back. So you're entering here. I mean, this next candle just keeps pushing. Next candle, a little bit of a pullback here. But in general, I mean, we never broke below the lows of those previous candles until we got up to here. And at this point, you're 20, 30 handles higher, 40, 50 handles higher. And it's a beautiful trade, right? So again, it's very simple. Like I try to tell people, and I sometimes like I guess I don't even listen to my own advice. But if the trade is not simply like setting up, and if you're not looking at it like, well, this is too easy, right? Like if it isn't simple, don't take the trade, right? If it's not simple, there's no reason to trade it. I think that's like the best way to put it. Like if it's not simply just saying like, look, we pushed above the VWAP, okay, perfect, good job. Now we want that pullback because we know. 199% of the time when we push this up above the VWAP, we normally get a pullback to the VWAP to kind of retest that area, and then we start to move higher, right? Like we start to move higher after that point. And again, like look here today, we push off the VWAP here, we push up. I mean, you basically, again, like one of these setups where you could have got in here for the breakout on the 3-minute chart, and then just basically kept moving your stop higher on all these legs up. So, you're buying here at the 303.50s. It pushes up. Maybe you take a small profit. You kind of hold on, and then you let this leg kind of pull back here. Same idea, right? Like we have this pullback here. We push up. We have a pullback. We push up. We have a pullback. We push up. Consolidation. All the way up there to almost 307 at the end of the day. So a huge move here, and this was all right here. It all started from this move here. This morning we had a lot of kind of choppy action. And what's interesting too is I don't know why I did this, but I literally pulled up the 15-minute chart this morning and I was looking at it like, well, where are we going to balance at if we pull back here? And look at that. We basically, we held, I would say, you know, like right there, getting back above that trend there. We had this trend there on the 15-minute chart. So again, you know, sometimes you got to zoom out. You got to zoom out. You got to look at the bigger picture. And pretty much, I mean, it's boom, you know, off to the races there. So again, the rules, right? Never let a green, like a really green trade go red on you. This is for stocks, crypto, indices, futures, everything. It doesn't matter what you're trading. If you're in the profit, like if you're good, like let's say you're $100, $200 in the profit on a trade, you know, especially on the micros, if you're up that big, there is no reason that you should let that trade come back, take you out at a loss. Like there's just no reason. That is like the number one rule that from here on out, I'm going to stick to, right? Like if a trade goes up, like I said, especially on the micros, it, you know, that's a $1,000 trade on the minis. You know, being up $100 on 2 contracts on the micros, that's $1,000 on the minis. There it is. My number one rule from now on, like I talk about different rules, but like this is a rule that I think after today was a really good lesson, you know, to remind myself, like, look, this is what happens when you break the rules. This is what happens when you don't wait for a simple setup. Wait for a simple setup, Patrick. You know what happens. Like you see this happen. You know what happens when you break the rules. Every single time I break the rules, I mean, maybe not every time. There's days where you're going to have like, you're going to maybe chase something, you're going to break the rule and you're going to make profit. And the problem is like, you're going to kind of, you know, reward yourself, but that's not a good trade, right? Like when you break the rules and you make profit, that's not a good trade. But if you follow the rules and you get out for a break even, you get out for a small profit versus getting out for a loss, that's a good trade because again, you're following the rules.